In the heart of St. Mary's Parish, Jamaica, the sun cast a golden glow over the peaceful town of Gale. The light lingered, highlighting Marcus, a 45-year-old man. He stood strong, representing both the beauty and hardships of the land. His dark skin shone. Marcus's body, shaped by years of labour under the hot Caribbean sun, showed his dedication and strength. Every muscle told a silent story of perseverance and purpose. Marcus had always imagined that after earning his agriculture degree from the University of Gale, he would return to England, where he was raised. The bustling streets of London called to him. But life had other plans. When a tragic accident took the lives of both his parents, his world was turned upside down. Instead of boarding a plane back to England, Marcus found himself rooted to the land that his parents had nurtured with their sweat and love. It was their dream, a vision they had shared with him to cultivate this piece of earth into something beautiful and bountiful. Marcus felt compelled to see their dream through, to honour their memory in the only way he knew how. Meanwhile, his schoolmates had scattered like leaves in the wind, chasing dreams of fortune and adventure in distant lands. But for Marcus, the allure of the world beyond had dimmed, replaced by a quiet determination to stay and build something that would last. He was as steady as the ancient trees around him, his roots deep in Gale's fertile soil. He was tied to this land, not just out of duty but from a deep sense of purpose and love. This legacy from his parents was a sacred trust that he had both nurtured and expanded. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky with strokes of fiery orange and crimson, Marcus collected his tools, his limbs heavy with fatigue, yet buoyed by a sense of fulfillment. The day's labour had etched itself into his muscles, a satisfying ache that resonated with the land's rhythm. With each step homeward, his pace quickened, spurred by the image of Melody, her presence a beacon calling him back. The path, well-trodden and familiar, welcomed his weary tread. A smile cracked the weathered landscape of his face, a silent ode to the love he had harboured so long for Melody, which he was finally able to express. Melody. Her very name danced through Marcus's soul, a tender tune that resonated with every beat of his heart. The quest to win her affection was a saga of enduring passion, a series of trials laced with the sweetness of intimate moments. Melody, 22 years his junior, was the neighbour's daughter. Marcus had watched her grow from a gawky tomboy into a stunning young woman. Even as a young girl, Melody had captured his heart. Her spirited nature and bright eyes fascinated him. Though he never acted on his feelings or voiced them, the attraction was always there. Melody, with the artfulness of a seasoned actress, played upon the strings of Marcus's heart. She was acutely aware of the silent adoration he harboured for her, and under the watchful eye of her mother, Mavis, she became a maestro of manipulation. The poverty of her upbringing could not quench her thirst for a life draped in finery, and in Marcus, with his unwavering loyalty and substantial means, she found her unwitting patron. With each fluttering lash and coy smile, she withdrew money from his pockets as effortlessly as a siren lures sailors to their doom. Marcus's aid to the family stemmed from more than just kindness. It was driven by a profound, unspoken love. His emotions clouded his judgment, preventing him from seeing their true intentions. Mavis's lips curled into a sly, knowing smile as she observed Marcus gazing at Melody. His attraction to her young daughter was unmistakable. He took an interest in her education, ensured she had enough to eat, and attended to her every need or want. Mavis skillfully guided her daughter, mastering the art of manipulation. "Your time now," Mavis whispered, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Your time." Each visit from Melody set off a tempest of emotion in Marcus, a maelstrom of joy and yearning that played him like a violin, a bittersweet reminder of what he longed for. He stood ever the gallant provider, his hands open with gifts and aid, his ears attuned to the rhythm of her tales, all the while oblivious to the deceptive dance that twirled around him. As the year mark of their relationship approached, Melody's grip on Marcus's life tightened. She had gradually begun to spend more and more time at his farmhouse, often staying over for most of the week. While she hadn't officially moved in, her presence was a constant fixture in Marcus's life. The lines between her needs and his desires had become increasingly blurred, with Melody expertly manipulating Marcus into fulfilling her every whim. His friends and neighbours would shake their heads in disbelief, wondering how someone as intelligent and capable as Marcus could be so thoroughly enthralled by Melody's charms. They couldn't believe that he left his ex Sophia for this young girl. But despite their concerns, Marcus remained smitten, utterly devoted to the young woman who had captured his heart. The murmurs of the town grew louder, a chorus of disbelief at the sight of a man like Marcus, sharp as a cutlass, strong as the Blue Mountain, caught in the delicate snare of a girl half his age. They remembered Sophia, the steadfast flame he had extinguished for a flicker of youth in Melody. Yet Marcus, ensconced in his devotion, was deaf to their doubts, his gaze fixed on the young siren who had commandeered his heart. Melody knew all about the gossip, the side-eyes, and the hushed tones whenever she walked by. Marcus, he was clueless, caught up in their whirlwind romance. So when he finally brought up the rumours, with a hint of hurt in his eyes, Melody played it cool. "They're just bad mind and jealous," she said, shrugging off the gossip as nothing but bad mind against their love. And Marcus, bless his heart, he bought every word, convinced they were living a love story that had the whole town green with envy. Marcus ambled towards his home, a playful twinkle lighting up his gaze. He'd planned a surprise day off, envisioning a quiet day wrapped up in Melody's company, but as he approached, the thumping bass of music disrupted the stillness of the afternoon. His sanctuary of solitude was alive with an unfamiliar beat. Hand on the doorknob, the sound of laughter spilled out. A chill ran down his spine. He stepped back, circling to the side of the house where the window stood. He peered towards the drawn curtains, his heart pounding a rhythm to match the music's tempo. The laughter echoed in his ears, a haunting melody that threatened the harmony of his world. Marcus paused, his mind a whirlwind of confusion and hurt. He doubled back to the front, his hand hesitating on the doorknob. Pushing it open, the scene inside struck him like a gut punch. This was his home, his safe haven, now tainted. The urge to bolt was overwhelming, but his feet were planted. This was his ground.
"But yet, Melody?"
His voice came out, low and edged with a storm of emotions barely held in check. The words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of betrayal. The air charged with unspoken truths. Marcus caught the tail end of those shifty looks between Melody's friends, looks that screamed the things he'd been denying all along. There she was, perched on some dude's knee like it was her personal throne. But the second Marcus stepped in, Melody shot up, quick as if she'd been scorched, and the vibe in the room flipped like a switch had been flicked. Drama hung heavy, a cloud about to burst. Melody's eyes, wide as the full moon on a clear Caribbean night, mirrored the shock that rippled through her. "Marcus, A voice trailed off, a broken melody, as if the words themselves were too heavy for her to speak. Marcus's face twisted with a storm of emotions. Marcus's gaze shifted to Melody's friends. How free they seemed in his house, yet now they were silent, exchanging uneasy glances, unsure of what to do. The tension was palpable, their confidence wavering under his stern look. When Marcus's voice cut through the silence,
"Olo, come out!"
They didn't hesitate. In an instant they scrambled to leave, the authority in his tone leaving no room for defiance. And in a flash, Melody's crew bolted, their laughter snuffed out by a gust of fear. They scattered, leaving only the echo of their hasty retreat against the charged Jamaican backdrop, where the tension hung as thick as the tropical heat.
"Oh, so all that gossip I was hearing is true? You turned me into a real idiot. Seems like everybody had a good laugh watching you play me like a mama, man."
Melody's eyes, wide with panic, searched for an escape that her mind couldn't provide. "Marcus, I never meant to—"
"Never meant to what? Never meant to use me? To make a fool out of me, for caring for you?"
His voice, once a tender murmur for her, now held the sharp edge of betrayal. Melody's eyes brimmed with tears, her lip quivering as she scrambled for the right words. Marcus, though, stood unwavering, his heart turned to stone by the truth he couldn't unsee. She deflated right there, the fight draining out of her. This was a side of Marcus she'd never thought she'd see. She'd played her cards wrong, thinking she could outwit his quiet strength. Now her mask of innocence lay shattered at her feet, her secrets laid bare. "Marcus, please." She barely got out, her voice a desperate murmur. "I can be different, I promise. I love you."
I can't believe that everything I did for you and your family, and this you do me?
With those words, Marcus turned away, leaving Melody standing alone in the silence of their fractured home. The echoes of betrayal reverberated in the air, a stark reminder of the price paid for misplaced trust and unfulfilled promises. He left the house and headed to the only place he could get solace, the farm. He struggled to reconcile the woman he had believed Melody to be with the reality of who she was. As he sat alone, the symphony of crickets and the whispering breeze underscored the tension within him. He realized that he had been blinded by desire and the illusion of love. His heart ached for the simplicity and steadfastness he had once known with Sophia, the woman who had seen him through his darkest days with unwavering loyalty. In his darkest day, he turned to Sophia, but now realized that he should have listened to her warnings. His infatuation for Melody had hypnotized him, blinding him to the truth in Sophia's words. Sophia had grown weary of the fast-paced English lifestyle, where every waking moment was consumed by the relentless pursuit of the almighty pound. Despite her best efforts, she found herself drowning in a sea of bills and responsibilities, with little time to enjoy the fruits of her labour.
These bloody bills!
So when the opportunity to return to her roots in Jamaica presented itself, she seized it with both hands. The University of Gale's offer of a counselling position was the perfect excuse to escape the chaos and reconnect with her island heritage. Sophia yearned to escape not only her mundane existence, but also the lingering memories of Robert, her high school sweetheart. Their on-again, off-again relationship had left her drained, as she struggled with his persistent inability to commit. Despite her deep love for him, Sophia had finally found the strength to break free from the toxic cycle. Now she sought to leave behind the heartache and move forward, embracing a new chapter in her life. As she settled into her new role, Sophia was determined to find a better balance between work and play, and to rediscover the joy and passion that had been missing from her life for so long. She was assigned to work with Marcus, a young man reeling from the recent loss of both his parents. Sophia's heart went out to him, as she understood the depth of his pain all too well. Having experienced the loss of her parents at a young age, she knew the ache of being orphaned and the struggle to find one's footing in the world without the guidance and love of those who had brought you into it. As Sophia sat with Marcus, her empathetic nature created a haven where his grief could finally surface. "It's okay, Marcus. I'll be here for you." The connection between them was undeniable, a bond that allowed Marcus to feel safe and unburdened in her presence. With Sophia, he could let his guard down, finally beginning the arduous journey of healing. Marcus began eagerly anticipating his sessions with Sophia. She nurtured him in a way he hadn't felt since losing his mother, offering the care and understanding he desperately missed. Their conversations became the highlight of his month, but as weeks passed, Sophia felt something shift. The lines between counsellor and client blurred, their relationship teetering on the edge of something dangerous. One day, as they discussed hopes and dreams instead of grief, Sophia's heart raced. She realized her feelings for Marcus had deepened into something far more personal. Just as she was about to cross a line, perhaps with a single word, a look, she caught herself. The tension was electric, the unspoken attraction between them threatening to ignite something they couldn't control. She quickly pulled back, but the spark remained, lingering in the air like a storm waiting to break. Sophia and Marcus harboured their secret feelings, aware that acting on them could jeopardise Sophia's job. Despite their growing emotions, they maintained a professional distance until Marcus left the university. Finally, free from the constraints of their student-counselor relationship, they surrendered to their long-suppressed desires, their pent-up passion igniting like wildfire. For over a decade, they had weathered life's storms together. Marcus cherished Sophia deeply, but over time, he began to sense a subtle shift in their relationship. She cared for him with a nurturing tenderness akin to a mother's love, yet something essential seemed to elude them. In Sophia's eyes, Marcus was the gold standard of what a man should be, hard-working, mature, and overflowing with kindness. He was the kind of guy who'd come home with arms full of farm-fresh bounty, not just for them, but for anyone in need around them. The Phillip family were their neighbours. They had one daughter, a miracle child named Melody. Mavis had her at a late stage in her life. They were often on the receiving end of his big heart. Marcus had been their quiet saviour, footing bills and school fees without a second thought. Sophia had always respected his giving nature, but as Melody blossomed into a beauty, she noticed a change. Marcus's glances, once fleeting and fatherly, now lingered a touch too long. The innocence that once coloured his generosity began to darken with something more, something that sent uneasy ripples through Sophia's heart. Every time Melody swayed by, a silent alarm rang in Sophia's mind, a prelude to a storm she hoped would never come. Time and time again, Sophia had tried to open Marcus's eyes to the unsettling truth. She had heard the sly whispers of Mavis, coaching young Melody in the art of seduction and deceit. "No worry yourself, him soon dash where that there old broom, and you'll be the new broom that him pick up. With a heart heavy with worry, Sophia relayed these ominous words to Marcus, but he shrugged them off, blinded by his own generosity, convinced he was merely being helpful. Yet Sophia's instinct screamed caution. She had seen that look in Marcus's eyes, a gaze that lingered on Melody with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. It was a look that spoke volumes, a silent testament to the dangerous path he was treading, leaving Sophia to wrestle with a growing sense of dread. Sophia's frustration simmered like a pot about to boil over. As Marcus's drifting attention continued to ignore her warnings, she felt her anger growing. His naivety regarding Melody and the Phillips family's true intentions was infuriating. One evening, after work, Sophia decided to treat herself to dinner at a favourite restaurant, knowing Marcus would be late. As she exited the car, her keys slipped from her fingers. Before she could retrieve them, a hand beat her to it, and a voice she thought she'd never hear again sent shivers down her spine.
"I'll be looking for ye."
Robert's eyes locked onto hers, his gaze burning with intensity.
"I heard you've immigrated to Jamaica a couple of years ago, so trust me when I say this meeting is definitely not by chance."
The air was electric with unresolved tension as they stood there, the keys still clutched in Robert's hand, the past and present colliding in a way that would change everything. Sophia chose to trust Marcus, giving him the benefit of the doubt regarding his feelings for Melody. She decided to focus on nurturing their relationship and strengthening their bond. Sophia's mind wandered, finding it harder and harder to fully invest in her relationship with Marcus. As his attention was divided, with Melody consuming his thoughts 60% of the time, frustration and exhaustion crept in, suffocating her. While cleaning out her handbag, a forgotten card slipped out, revealing a phone number that made her heart skip a beat. Robert's. Memories of their encounter in Gale flooded her mind, and she couldn't deny the undeniable spark that still lingered. Her fingers trembled as she dialed the number, the digits etched in her memory like a promise of what could be. As the phone rang, Sophia's pulse quickened, her thoughts racing with possibilities. What if? What could be? The uncertainty was exhilarating, and she found herself smiling, feeling alive for the first time in months. Little did she know, this one phone call would set off a chain reaction, altering the course of her life forever. One evening, Sophia headed out to visit a sick friend. Sophia shouted, "See you later," to Marcus as she got into her red car and drove off, unaware of the watchful eyes that followed her departure. Mavis's gaze lingered on Sophia's car as it disappeared into the distance. Mavis called out to Melody, her voice laced with a hint of scheming. Your time now, Melody. Sophia Garda Rudd. Marcus is home alone. The party's clear. A sense of guilt washed over Sophia like a tidal wave as she slipped into her car and drove away. She glanced back, her eyes locking onto Marcus's smiling face, standing at the front door, waving.
"All right, Sophia, see you later,"
he called out, his voice carrying on the wind. Sophia's heart twisted, the guilt threatening to consume her. She had promised to meet Robert, but the sight of Marcus's trusting face made her question her decision. The guilt was suffocating, a heavy weight crushing her chest. As she reached the halfway point, Sophia's resolve crumbled. She pulled over, her hands trembling as she dialed Robert's number. Robert,
Sophia, hey, I'm so glad you called.
I can't come. I'm so sorry. I feel terrible, but I just can't.
Sophia, please come. Don't name hold your back. You know you develop more.
But Sophia's finger hovered over the end call button, her heart racing. And then she hung up, the silence deafening. With a deep breath, she turned the car around, the wheels screeching in protest. She was heading back to Marcus, back to the life she knew. But the question lingered. What if? What if she had followed her heart? What if she had taken a chance on Robert again? Melody's eyes sparkled with understanding as she gazed at her mother. With a sly smile, she made her way to Marcus's house, her heart racing with anticipation. The stage was set, and the players were in position. Mavis watched her daughter's departure with a knowing glint in her eye, the wheels of her mind already turning with the possibilities. Melody hesitated at Marcus's door, her fingers trembling with anticipation. She took a deep breath, preparing herself for the performance of a lifetime. With a delicate hand, she dabbed at the corners of her eyes, conjuring up tears that seemed to well up effortlessly. Then, with a dramatic flourish, she knocked on the door. As Marcus opened it, she threw herself into his arms, trembling with feigned sobs. Marcus! I'm so glad you're here. Marcus lost all control with Melody in his arms, his body trembling. He tried to comfort her, concerned about her distress, but before he could say a word, she kissed him. He melted. All the years of his secret crush on her surged forward, and Marcus found himself unable to resist, passionately returning the kiss. Sophia's return was premature, the night's plans abandoned. As she pulled up, her world came crashing down at the sight before her. There, in the open, Marcus and Melody were locked in an embrace, lost in a kiss that screamed betrayal. Sophia's voice, though a whisper, shattered the stillness. Marcus! What is? It was a question loaded with the weight of a shattered heart. Marcus felt the ground give way beneath him as Sophia's figure, etched with hurt, filled his vision. Melody clung to him, her eyes a tumultuous sea of fear and challenge. The air around them was electric, charged with the imminent storm of consequences. The moment hung, fragile and tense, on the brink of irrevocable change. Marcus's thoughts were a whirlwind, desperate for words to calm the storm of emotions around them. But before he could speak, Sophia's eyes met Melody's, sharp with accusation softened by pain. I warned you, Marcus, she said, her voice trembling. About her. Melody stepped back, her hands shaking as Marcus was flooded with guilt, realizing his hesitation had brought them here.
Sophia, please. It's not what it looks like.
But Sophia's pain was clear, her body sagging with the weight of his betrayal. She turned from him, looking out as if to find peace in the twilight. I thought we had something real. I can't believe you did this to me. I thought you loved me. The words lingered, heavy in the air, overshadowing the love they once shared. Marcus stood still, caught between the steadfast partner of 2 decades and the intoxicating pull of a new, risky desire. The setting sun cast long shadows, symbolizing the dark turn in Marcus's life. At this crossroads the choice was clear, and regret filled his voice as he whispered,
Sophia Misari.
Sophia's worst fears had materialized before her very eyes. The young temptress had ensnared Marcus, a scenario she dreaded,
Sophia, believe
yet anticipated.
me, nothing I want.
Despite Marcus's assurances that Melody meant nothing to him, Sophia's intuition had whispered the bitter truth.
I knew it. I knew you was lying to me.
She strode past the pair, a silent storm brewing within, her tears defiantly refusing to fall. Frantically, she stuffed her life into suitcases, the fabric of their shared existence tearing with each garment folded. Beside Marcus, Melody stood, a statue of conflicted emotions, her eyes downcast, betraying a cocktail of victory and doubt. Sophia, with a voice as low as the evening shadows, declared,
I'll be back for the rest of my things.
She slammed the car door, the sound echoing like the final note of their love song, and drove into the encroaching night. In the days that followed, Marcus was consumed by guilt. He had tried his best to smother his feelings for Melody, convinced he could keep them at bay. Now, with the truth out in the open, Marcus felt an overwhelming regret for his dishonesty and the pain he had caused. Desperate to make amends, Marcus tried repeatedly to contact Sophia, but she remained out of reach. The guilt gnawed at him, relentless and unforgiving. He tried to focus on Melody, but the weight of his betrayal and the emptiness of Sophia's absence made him question everything. As Marcus sat in the gathering dusk, the past year unfurled in his mind like a tapestry of voices, warnings and advice he'd brushed aside. Yet, above the din, it was Sophia's voice that thundered.
Marcus, just tell the truth. Stop lying.
A profound ache for her settled in his bones. Her absence was a void no fleeting joy with Melody could fill. He craved the comfort of Sophia's wisdom, the warmth of her love, treasures Melody's presence had never come close to matching. The stark contrast between what he had lost and what he had gained loomed over him, a tempest of regret and longing. In the wake of Melody's deceit, Marcus found sanctuary in the solitude of his farm, immersing himself in the healing cadence of the land. The sting of her treachery lingered, a raw reminder of the vulnerability he had exposed in love's name. Day after sweltering day, as Marcus laboured beneath the unforgiving Jamaican sun, he sought comfort in the steadfast rhythm of nature's embrace. Each seed he sowed became a silent vow of perseverance, a defiance against the sorrow that burdened his soul.
Sophia, I can't believe I messed up myself for that the gun.
His voice a soft echo over the fields. A bitter realization washed over him as he tasted the irony of his choices. Melody could feel the unravelling of her and her mother Mavis's plan. No words or wiles could mend the rift between herself and Marcus. Marcus would come home from the fields, his face like stone, and the silence that filled the house was thick enough to cut. Mavis kept telling her to hang tight, that Marcus would soon come around and everything would be good.
I've tried everything. I don't know what else I can do. Know her yourself, and you soon come round. Just hang tight.
But Melody? She knew better. The Marcus who used to look at her with soft eyes was gone, and she doubted he would look at her that way again. Melody sensed the ticking clock on her stay. Marcus's patience was wearing thin. The thought of slipping back into the shadows of poverty was unbearable. Kingston, with its vibrant streets and tales of opportunity, called to her, a siren song of a fresh start. Her friends' stories of city life were a chorus in her mind, tempting her with visions of what could be. With a heart torn between fear and hope, Melody gathered her belongings. In the quiet of dawn, she stepped out of the house, leaving behind the life she knew, stepping into the vast unknown that awaited her in the city's embrace. That evening, as the sun's light faded, Marcus trudged back to what was once a shared haven. He entered the house, he sensed he was alone, and when he checked Melody's room, he noticed her possessions were gone. He felt relieved, a bittersweet feeling came over him. But he knew it was time to rebuild, to restore the honour she had tried to steal. As the days unfolded, Marcus's life began to regain a sense of routine. Each morning, he'd load his truck with the bounty of his farm and head to the bustling market. It was there, amidst the vibrant stalls and the chatter of marketeers, that a twist of fate awaited him. A glimpse of Sophia. His heart skipped a beat, a mix of joy and trepidation at the sight of her. With haste, he handed off his produce, his mind racing with the possibility of reconnection. But as he made his way through the crowd, intent on calling out to her, another voice intercepted. A man's call to Sophia shattered the moment. Marcus watched, a silent spectator, as she turned to the man with a smile that once illuminated his own days. The man's kiss, a seal of intimacy, and their entwined hands spoke of a bond that Marcus could no longer claim. They walked away, towards a car parked near the market's edge, leaving Marcus amidst the hum of the market, grappling with the reality of a chapter closed. Marcus's frame sagged, the burden of his heartache draping over him. As he retreated, a marketeer caught the tail end of the exchange. With a look of sympathy etched on her face, she offered a piece of island wisdom to Marcus.
I've been watching you for a long time you answer you this. I knew Broom sweep clean, but old Broom knows the corners.
It was a truth that stung, acknowledging the fresh start Melody might represent, yet underscoring the depth and familiarity that only time and Sophia could bring. Mavis stood on her veranda, eyes fixed on Marcus's return from the farm. His arms, usually laden with fresh produce for her, now hung empty. His half-hearted greeting drifted through the afternoon air as he entered his house. Mavis's thoughts turned to her daughter Melody, who'd left without a word. Melody had grown tired of living out her mother's dreams, suffocating under the weight of Mavis's ambitions. Gale, their small town, offered little opportunity, and Melody craved the city's vibrant life. Her friends had already fled, seeking brighter futures. Mavis had orchestrated Melody's relationship with Marcus, leveraging her daughter's charm to secure financial support. Marcus, their kindly neighbour, had unwittingly become a means to an end. Melody's departure now threatened Mavis's carefully laid plans. As Mavis gazed into the mirror, her reflection revealed a mix of determination and unease. She had waited for Marcus's return, her mind racing with possibilities.
My time now,
she whispered, a calculated glint in her eye. Mavis smoothed her hair, adjusted her clothes and strode purposefully towards Marcus's house, her mind set on a new plan.
My time now, my time.
Come on then, help a sister out. If you like this content and want to see more, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment below and tell us what kind of subjects you want us to cover. Blessed.